Yeah,
And
I'll
he's
give you.
not.
I got my hip shot here, man. I got you.
All right.
I think
Anyway.
you'll enjoy it.
Okay.
I'm
Looking
looking
forward
forward
to it.
to like this is fun for me because we have to like I like that we have to force ourselves to hold off from diving like straight into the top names. Or I
Hmm.
don't know. That's just how we structured it with the Senior Bowl preview, Senior Bowl review. It's like 2 weeks, 12 profiles of
Hmm.
guys who aren't early declares. Like
Yeah.
that's nice. I think it's a good way to break into the film review and just start looking at how we feel. So
Hmm. No, I'm with you. Yeah, it's nice because we're gonna talk about those guys a lot, as they progress through the tournament. So they're gonna get their shine. I think it's nice to highlight some guys early because I mean that is kind of I know that the later rounds are kind of a crapshoot, but that is where you like really build on a dynasty roster. You get Sam Laporter at the beginning of the second or like shit like that. Um, so having a foundation instead of just because I remember our first rookie drafts, like once we got to like the mid second round, I was like, I don't fucking know. Like, I don't know any of these guys. I'll take like I'm more taking spots on a roster than actual guys at that point.
um,
It's like, oh, okay, it's the Colts running back. I'll take that guy because X, Y, and Z.
uh
It's not
damn, dude.
that was like year one.
Yeah. The
Um
year I took Terry McLaurin
yeah.
and then in
And
the third round I took Deontay Johnson,
yeah,
like the three
exactly.
seven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like shit like
I was grinding
hmm
like a motherfucker for that
See,
draft, man.
and I think that's what woke me up was that first draft, and then it not only that, but the even my good picks that I was in on didn't really work out terribly well.
Oh
Actually
yeah, it
didn't
was
even work out
a
at all.
fan Paris Campbell year, wasn't it?
Yeah, and so that woke me up to like, okay, I do need to dig more into this shit. And then that was right after that was when you guys presented the idea for the pod. So that's really what made me get into it more. But I think having a foundation of these guys that you're like, okay, I know I'm gonna take this guy in a second,
Mhm.
because I like him, and it's you live and die by the guys you like that way,
Well,
but
it's better to have
also
your own reasons. It's the only way to get an edge on people who are all consuming the same information.
exactly, yeah, 100%. So I'm glad we started
Yeah.
here too.
Yeah, man. I feel like yeah, I know you're recording all this. So you just splice this into the episode.
I'll make it the intro or something.
I feel like that was a good chunk of could have been content. And
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun?
Welcome back, everybody. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience, and together we are in a case for Dynasty Domination. How's it going over there, Daniel?
my man, I'm doing fantastic.
Good,
Nothing has changed. I'm still living my best life and have no complaints at all. So,
good.
what up with you, Christian? How are you?
That's good. It's been a weird week. I got an MRI for my back finally. I'm still waiting on the results for that. Hopefully, nothing too serious. But it's just been one of those weird weeks for me. Not bad. Can't complain, I suppose, but it's been a weird one to get my head wrapped around for sure. But we got our first look at the 2024 rookie class, which was awesome
Ooh,
with the Senior
ooh.
Bowl. A little bit of a maybe a dud game in terms of offensive firepower for the Senior Bowl this
Mhm.
year. 16-7 was the final, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I can't. Yeah, 17 to 10, maybe.
or something like that. I don't know.
One of those
But
two
or maybe
numbers.
17-9, 16-9. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. But we do still have a review, not really a review of the Senior Bowl, but we're going to go into some more profiles for you guys, setting up for, again, get ready for that March Madness bracket coming up in March, obviously. We're gonna set up some more profiles for you guys from guys that were at the Senior Bowl this week. So that was pretty exciting to we're really in the thick of it now, getting into this rookie class. It's been fun, starting off with some of these maybe not so well known names. So with all that being said, man, like red tape out of the way, I guess you want to hit us with your first guy?
Red tape removed. Yeah, Senior Bowl, man. Gosh, what a good time. I gotta tell you, um, just to revisit the Senior Bowl as a topic. That was a fun game to watch. I can't believe all the guys that just practiced and then opted out of the
Yeah, that
game.
was weird.
I was like, shit, okay. Apparently, none of the defensive players opted out of the game
Mm-mm.
because they were pretty aggressive there. But anyway, all that aside, I'll get into a guy that actually played in the Senior Bowl, starting off soft with a tight end,
Okay.
guys. So this is Theo Johnson, and he is a tight end out of Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
He's 6'6" and 257. And I got to tell you, he's not really lighting up the stat lines.
Mm.
So just keep that in mind. But I think there's a lot of potential here. He had 34 targets, on or 34 catches on his team, which was actually tied for second with another tight end. So it seems like, hey, 34 catches isn't a huge number, but the number one guy on that team had 53.
Mm.
So
They're just
I don't
not
know,
throwing the
just
ball that much,
not throwing the ball. So he
or
had
at least not
12.
throwing it well.
Well, yeah, that's probably the real situation. But he had 12% of Penn State's receiving yards with 341.
Mm.
But the big number for him was he had 7 touchdowns,
Yeah,
which
it's cool.
that's pretty large and in charge. There are only 2 tight ends in college that had more than 7 touchdowns.
Hmm.
So you got to give him some credit on that. Um, but yeah, just getting into the film, the guy was fun to watch. He's like slow motion squirrely is what I'm calling him. Like he's
Okay.
trying hard, but like not exactly. I don't know. Um, I'd say it's just hard to put it, but he was getting busy on the field, and it didn't necessarily look impressive, but it was pretty effective.
Hmm.
And he had really good hands and really good at like one of those guys that finds the open spot in the field
Hmm.
and just kind of like sits there. So he's just a big target for his quarterback. Um, so like he would just run his route, find a soft spot, and just turn around facing the quarterback, and it was just money for him. I don't know how well that translates to the NFL, like just being able to sit there. I know some guys do it well,
Yeah,
um, but the
Kelsey.
way to do it, yeah, Travis Kelsey. But the way to do it is to like burn a guy on a route and like kind of confuse people.
Hmm.
That's not necessarily. He was more apt to have like someone forget about him, and then he could just like take a couple of steps away from a defender and camp out. Um, but it's not to say that he didn't have some good catches in stride, which I thought was pretty impressive. He's obviously securing the ball near the red zone and being or in the red zone, being a good end zone target. So I like that for him. I do think he is like football smart. Like he's got an idea of like how a play is developing, and he knows when to kind of just get open for his quarterback. So I'm happy to see that. There's a lot of versatility. He was lined up in the backfield, had a lot of motion, some out wide and pulling snaps. So I think that he has the ability to level up his game if he can improve his route running and definitely bring up the speed. Um, he had like great couple quick steps off the line of scrimmage. Like he was doing all the right things, but it just wasn't fast enough for him to like actually get a step on a defender.
Hmm.
But with his size and kind of his ability to just actively know what the quarterback needed, he found himself in a position to make a lot of plays and be productive, especially in the scoring offense. So I think he's got a lot of potential. He was kind of a hot ticket coming out of college or high school
Hmm.
in Canada. He's a Canadian, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm going to go neutral on it. But he was a four-star recruit, and he did pick Penn State over Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and Iowa.
Wow.
So that's kind of interesting. To me, I'd say like if that's the pedigree he has and he didn't really get the volume but was effective, especially 7 touchdowns on 34 targets or 34 catches. I think that's pretty useful. If he can scale that up, he becomes a monster. But he had a 75% catch rate. And even though it was only 4 contested catches, or only 4 contested targets, he caught 3 of them. So he's got potential. What he does well. I don't think he's like the super athletic tight end,
Hmm.
that type that's kind of like taking over and getting hot right now.
Hmm.
But I do think the guy can throw a block. He doesn't have a great PFF blocking score, but if you watch him play, like he's actively blocking, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't think he's not going to burn anyone. So he doesn't scream like superstar. But as far as like the seniors go, I thought he stood out as a player that's probably going to be on the field at the end. So I wanted to circle back and say a little bit about him.
Yeah, no, I mean, at the very least, he's a 6'6", almost 260-pound target with an 81-inch wingspan. So yeah, I mean he like you saying he's good at like what he does, and there's some areas that he needs to kind of develop on. And I don't know, I think he has decent enough speed, especially for that size. He had a pretty long touchdown against Michigan State where he was running past people. I mean, like you're saying, he got open early and then kind of took advantage of a break in the coverage, but like he's a good player. I don't know if he'll be a superstar or anything like that, but I do think he could be, like you're saying, he'll be on an NFL team and on the field, which you never know, could lead to fantasy viability. So it'll be interesting to see like what team goes after him. I didn't know that about
Sure.
his recruiting either, so
Yeah,
that's
as Wikipedia baby.
there you go.
Smoked him.
So you never know. Maybe somebody will value him that high and maybe they'll actually try to use him a little more, get him out of
Yeah.
34 catches. So we'll see though.
Yeah.
It could be cool.
I like it. Like you're saying, he did have some long catches, and he's
Hmm.
like he's pretty slippery. Like he knows where
Hmm.
to go to where he doesn't have to be the fastest guy on the field. So yeah, he does a lot of things right. It just like the total package looked like a touch slow.
Yeah, that's
So
fair.
we'll see.
Yeah, he's not going to be winning any races or anything like that
Yeah.
necessarily, but there's still room for that. He could almost be like I don't know, like what Darnell Washington, some people thought
Huh?
he was going to be when they took him in rookie drafts last year. Oh, like a big giant target. Well, but actually, he's a massive blocker. That's what he does. So
Right.
you just ignored that part. But this guy is kind of more in the middle. You could develop him into a more receiving threat while trying to improve the blocking as well. Like you said, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't anything to write home about either.
Right.
Um, Speaking of slippery guys, let me get into mine. And just a heads up, I just went three running backs. I think the running back,
Bucket.
I think the running back class this year is super interesting. And for the belt, our main league, I have 4 second round picks, and they're all within the first 6 picks. So I'm really trying to shotgun blast that second round full of running backs. So I'm just scoping all these dudes out. So I went all super hard. And a guy who was really slippery on tape was Emani Bailey, TCU running back. He's about 5'7", almost 5'8", 208 pounds, weighed in at the Senior Bowl. 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns on the ground last season, 70 missed tackles forced. That's what I'm talking
What?
about his slipperiness. Yeah, he's 70 missed tackles forced on 223 carries. Pretty good.
Good
He's
Lord.
got really good lateral quickness, and that's what gets him out a lot of these. He can make like one little bounce, one little small move, and be around you to where you're just not going to get him anymore. And he's really good at finding the hole, but not only that, he's got that fun ability to really make himself small and squeeze through these like tiny holes where he's just squirting out the other side and gaining a lot of yardage on it. Because he's short, but he's not small. Like he's pretty thick. I mean, like 5'8" at 208 pounds. He's got a lot of like balance to him and a decent size, even though he's not that tall or anything. And I mean, you don't need to be very tall for a running back, but like he packages it into this really impressive runner. Um, and I think it helps him a lot. I think it helps him stay up a lot. I think it helps him kind of avoid some of these tackles. He's got a strong burst. I wouldn't say kind of like the top end speed that you would need to be like a home run threat, but he's got enough speed, like he could definitely take one to the house if he gets an opening. He just might be caught by, the quicker safeties and the corners of the league, which is they're tough to get away from. Um, and he wasn't really used all that much in the passing game. He had 25 catches for 184 yards and a touchdown. Um, he could definitely be used more because he was targeted 25 times. So he had a 100% catch rate. He
Wow.
just wasn't ever targeted really, throughout the whole year. He's only gotten 25 targets. It's just not really what they seem to do. But I think when he got the ball in the passing game, he looked good. He was able to use that lateral quickness to be able to kind of take some of these a little farther than they might have otherwise been. I like him. It'll be interesting to see where he lands. The earlier round, obviously that could say really spark some interest in him as like a viable starter. I feel like he's a guy that probably comes into the league as a backup, maybe like a fourth or fifth round pick comes in, but I wouldn't be surprised if he were to find himself like through injury or something onto a starting roster. Or like maybe a team that's weaker at running back, he comes in, a la like Damian Pierce on the Houston Texans a couple years ago. Like they took him in the fourth round, but their depth chart was so meh at the time that he ended up being able to take over that room. Like I wouldn't be surprised if that
Right.
happens for Bailey. I don't know that he'll end up being like an early. I don't think he gets picked before the fourth. I, I
Nah.
don't think. Um, if he does, okay, let's go. Because somebody wants to use him. Somebody thinks they can see something here, but I don't think so. But I do think he could be valuable for you. Maybe like a later second round pick or an early third, depending on the roster he ends up on.
Yeah, I think especially with this class, there's as far as the running backs go, there's I mean, there's not really a ton of like monsters, guys that were just
Hmm.
like been waiting for all these years. And so I think there's a large potential for this to just be up in the air until
Hmm.
we get, some combine info and a little bit of like, the buzz or whatever, see
Yeah.
what happens closer to the draft time. But I mean, the way he plays and like that thick size. I think he's got, the potential to be a guy that impresses throughout the process and to keep an
Hmm.
eye on. He opened up the Senior Bowl as like the dude for the American squad, like the whole first quarter.
Hmm. It was all him.
Mhm. And he ended up getting 53 yards on 10 carries and four catches for 34 yards. So I don't know. I enjoyed watching him. I did think he left a little to be desired, but he started heating up and warming up.
Hmm.
So I got some faith in the guy. I think he's going to be legit.
Yeah, he's a landing spot guy for me for sure. Like if he
Oh
ends up
yeah.
somewhere that I think is spicy, then I'm gonna get really heated up on him. Because I did like what I saw. I didn't love it, obviously some room for improvement.
Mhm.
But yeah, like you're saying, this RB class is wide open. Blake
Yeah.
Corum is basically like the RB1, and that's I don't know. He's good, he's a good player, but like
Dude's got to
like
be old as hell now, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. So like this, I genuinely have no idea who's going to be the number one running back off the board, and that's pretty fun. But but yeah, did you have who do you got next for us?
Oh my goodness. I'll just stick with it, man, because when I was looking through the guys at the Senior Bowl, I saw something that was like a, bug light for me. I don't know how many of you listeners have been with us since the beginning or whatever, but I don't know. I can't look away from a Mizzou running back. I had my Larry Roundtree phase, which like
Mm,
that was I was in it thick. I have some eBay purchases for signed rookie cards
Hell
that
yeah.
like I would just, it's the kind of things that people could throw in my face for the rest of my life, and I would just have to eat the shame of my misguided hopes for him. But Tyler Beatty came out, I tempered. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let this fly. I'm gonna let this be. But then this guy, Cody Schrader, comes out, and I don't know. I don't know what to think about him, man. He's like third in all of college for rushing
Mm,
yards. He had 1,629, 14 touchdowns, and not really over the top on the passing game, but he had 22 catches for 191 yards, and that was out of 25 targets. So, pretty sure-handed. But he's coming in, same kind of story as Bailey. He's 5'8", 207, so kind of thick, kind of short,
mm,
stocky, and just I don't know, just kind of a bowling ball kind of player. He had a pretty good day at the old Senior Bowl. He had a kind of a strange day actually. I think he only got like 10 yards on the
mm,
ground with 7 carries.
mm,
But he did end up with 54 yards on 5 catches. So that helped me out as far as like trying to project him as an NFL running back.
mhm,
Because like the thing with him is he doesn't look like a typical running back at all. Like
mhm,
not even a little bit. To me anyway. He doesn't have a lot of power. Um, he doesn't really like run through contact super well.
mm,
I what I saw was a very elusive player. PFF does not agree with me, and that's okay. I think that the way he was successful as a running back was just getting up to speed instantly. Like he just hit
mm,
his top speed before he hit the line of scrimmage, and he was able to modulate his speed very well throughout his rushing, just to be able to make defenders miss. He had really, really fast kind of cutbacks. But like most players cut back, I don't know, to like go around a bad block or to like make a player miss. But he'd like cut back on no one just to get a clean running lane. It's just kind of it's just kind of a really strange style of running, but it
yeah.
worked. It worked so well. And like I was saying, man, he does have good hands in the receiving game, even though the volume wasn't there. So I think he has a lot of potential as just like a super fast, clean runner. To be one of those like third down backs, or like I don't want to say scat back, because I mean he was like a volume back with a workhorse, but he just didn't carry the power. He wasn't like initiating contact and knocking guys down. He was more like, I don't know. It's like he was almost running scared, like running in a way to avoid contact, but extremely successful in doing so.
Mhm,
So I'll give him a little bit of credit. I think that if he ends up in the right kind of like fast-paced offense, that he could be a really, really productive fantasy back for you, but like he's not screaming goal line to me. He
mm,
doesn't have that up the middle power back, push the
mhm,
pile kind of. He doesn't even like you look at him, and it's crazy that he weighs 207 at 5'8", because he's got a little skinny legs, and but so he wears this bulk up top, and he runs. I mean, he runs like he's weaving through guys, and he's really, really good at it. The tackles are him getting tripped up because he's so fast that guys can't square up on him. You know
mm,
what I mean? But he's not like that kind of fast where his 40 time, I don't think he's gonna blow you away. It's just
mhm.
like filled fast. Like
Yeah.
he's just is really, really zippy. Um, and so it's hard for me to like nail down an argument that is like 100% for Schrader. And I'd say like this is the kind of guy where you just watch the combine, watch the landing spot, watch the draft capital, And don't sleep on him because he did just kick some ass. He went from being a D2 guy playing at Truman to a walk on at Missouri. And then all of a sudden now he's leading the SEC in rushing yards.
Hmm.
So I don't think he's going to like start coasting now, start chilling. Um, I don't know. These awards we always talk about. I love talking about the awards. But he was eighth in Heisman voting,
Oh
which
wow.
is like that's not nothing. He was the Burlworth Trophy winner, which is the top walk on
Nice.
of the year.
Okay.
And he was the top three Doak Walker Award finalist. So, I mean, I put in like probably 20 minutes of film watching, couple highlight reels, about three or four game films, and I'm very, very intrigued by the guy, but he doesn't have a bell cow setup going.
Mhm.
He's just kind of a different dude. But if someone can find a way to translate what he did last year at Mizzou, 1,600 yards into the NFL, could be pretty fucking cool.
It could be, like I'm with you. He's he's got really good vision. I think that helps him a
Yes,
lot.
yes.
That's like one of his higher skill sets to me is he does seem to know where to go at all times. And I, not to push back entirely, but I wouldn't say like he's afraid of contact. I just don't think he's very good at getting through it like that because he would lower his shoulder. He just wouldn't really help him that much. It didn't seem like if basically he's good at running through arm tackles, and I think I'm more with you than PFF. I do think he's fairly elusive, so he's
Right.
decent at getting away. But if you wrap him, it's a wrap.
It's over.
It's
Yeah.
it's a wrap. So,
No,
which
he's done.
I think in the NFL that could be really dangerous for a guy. You look at somebody like Pierre Strong is a guy that I liked a lot, but that was kind of the complaint about him is that he like as soon as he gets actually wrapped up, he doesn't go anywhere. And so far in the NFL, that's kind of played out where he's not really popping as much. Now he hasn't really gotten that many chances or anything, but when we have seen him, it hasn't been amazing. So that's what I would worry about. But I'm with you.
Yeah.
If somebody can get him in the right scheme and like in a good run blocking offense, unfortunately Atlanta is taken, but somebody like that,
Mhm.
where the holes are opening for him, he would be able to hit those holes and be pretty productive. But I think if he has to rely on his own ability to make tackles miss, I don't know that that's going to play super well. I mean, of the four running backs we're talking about today, he had the lowest yards after contact per attempt. He also
Yep.
had not the lowest forced missed tackles, but he had the lowest forced missed tackles per attempt. Because somebody I'm going to get
Yep.
into later got way less carries, but only ended up with four less missed tackles forced than him. So that's what I worry about with him. But he is a good runner. Like he's a very good running back in the sense that he's smooth, he runs well, he knows where to go with the ball and understands the blocking. But yeah, that second gear or that second thing to kind of set him apart, I think might be missing. But there's a chance, like he ends up in the right offense. He's a player, like he's a name that I will pay attention to. It'll just kind of depend on where he lands.
Hey,
Um,
man.
Getting into somebody because we're talking about some guys that are maybe not so powerful. So let's dial up the power a little bit and let's go Isaiah Davis, 6 foot tall, 220-pound running back out of South Dakota State. Broke for 1,500 yards last season, 18 touchdowns on the ground. He had 80 forced missed tackles on 236 carries. He's just a big, powerful guy, man. He lowers his shoulder every single time. He's the one initiating contact. He's got a really, really nasty sniff arm. He's got a really nasty stiff arm, and he'll just throw people out of the way. Like now, okay, it's South Dakota State. You know, let's reel that back in. 80 forced missed tackles. How much of that was just subpar opponents that you're going up against, small competition schools? But I think he has nice like I think he's a good runner. I think he's got a nice little wiggle to him. He doesn't make a lot of cuts, but he does make that one cut, and then after that cut, which is usually a pretty strong move, like he's got good vision and good understanding, and he makes that one cut, gets himself in open space, and then it's all power. This powerful guy comes out, and honestly, he reminds me of Pacheco kind of. I know they have the same first name, but like that, not in the way that like Pacheco looks like he's angry at the ground when he's running. But it's similar. Like it's this strong, upright, like I'm gonna run through you type of running style. And I think it could work, like in certain teams it could work with. Honestly, for him, and I know I say this weirdly often on this podcast, but I think the Ravens would be a really, really good spot for a guy like Isaiah Davis. Complement Lamar's ability to bounce out with this powerful running game. I think that would be really, really awesome where he's not the focus either. Like Lamar is the offense, even the rushing offense, Lamar is the offense. So I think in a system like that, Isaiah Davis would really, really shine. I think he will get the goal line work. I mean, he's big enough for it, he's strong enough for it. I think if he lands on any sort of roster where he's complementing a smaller running back, I'm gonna eat that shit up because I really do think he's gonna start eating the goal line work fairly soon into whatever system he gets on. Now, obviously, you never know. It's a small school guy. I do fall in love with these small school guys. I don't even know that this would be my biggest draft crush yet, but I do like Isaiah Davis a lot. I like what he can bring to an NFL team. It's just this attitude and this powerful running style that I think is lacking in some offenses. You look at somewhere like Green Bay, AJ Dillon is a free agent at the this year, so he may not even be back on the roster. They may want to grab somebody to be that power running game again. It seems like Aaron Jones will still be there, so it seems like they may be in the market more for one of these bigger, stronger guys again. But there's a lot of teams that could use a guy like Isaiah Davis, and I think early on in his career, he could snipe a lot of touchdowns for you, and you could take advantage of that in the middle of the second round, I think.
Yeah, I'd say so, man. Watching this film, like, yeah, like you're saying, is definitely a hell of a downfield, like downhill
Hmm.
runner, Like once
Yeah.
he breaks those first couple of cuts and gets where he wants to be, like it's off to the races, man. I mean,
Hmm.
that's how you end up with 18 touchdowns. It's just not taking no for an answer when it comes to
Hmm.
the end zone. So,
Exactly.
um, and he was he was just balling out there, kind of dudes bouncing off of him. It's just I love watching that small school stuff
Hmm.
uh, because it's just a couple of foxy dudes out there just like owning the field.
Playing a bunch of
Uh,
good middle schoolers, it looks like sometimes.
yeah, and it's just it cracks me up. I'm happy to see it. And actually, I'm getting into my next guy is in that same vein.
Mm.
If you ask me personally, this is what I saw from Malachi Corley, man,
Hmm.
Western Kentucky.
He's
Uh,
fun.
dude, it's something else. Uh, so he's 5'10", 215. If that sounds like a running back, maybe it's because he could have, should have, maybe has been and will be a running back. I don't know how deep he got on this guy, but he's like he had 1,000 rushing yards is like his years in high school and
Mm.
played cornerback, like
Oh
was
wow.
mostly a cornerback and went to Western Kentucky to play corner, and then start playing wide receiver. And God, what a dude! So yeah, Western Kentucky. Last year he had a 11 touchdowns and 984 receiving yards. And man, yeah, he was averaging like 12 and a half per catch and had 79 catches. And to describe this guy, I have to just say he is really powerful.
Mm.
He was just an extremely powerful player and really fun to watch, if you ask me. He was like the king of the short intermediate passing game with just like outstanding run after the catch ability.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, that's clear when you look at it. He had a 5.5 yard A dot, which not exactly what you're looking for when you want receiving yards, but 683 of his 985 yards were after the catch. So that's 69%. That's incredible, man. 8.6 yards after the catch per catch was 12th, amongst all
Wow.
college guys. And for guys over 40 targets, that's 693 yards after the catch was fifth. So
Hmm.
like it was pretty serious
Yeah.
about what he can do with the ball in his hands. And it
Hmm.
all comes down to just being aggressive. Like he is an aggressive player with the ball in his hands. He does not avoid contact. And I know we've all seen enough of this just watching football in general, but one thing that I really, really liked about him is that he gets extra yards by not adjusting to defenders and instead just bullying them. Like he's not going to stop and
Mm-mm.
make an adjustment. He's going to say, "I dare you to tackle me right now." And he has this confidence and this athleticism to just smash these guys. It's insane.
Hmm.
Um, but at the same time, it's got like a good awareness of the boundaries, He likes to, get a catch and just like sneak, like, hit you, tightrope walk the out of bounds line and just, sometimes he can turn that into a touchdown, just like getting those extra yards that shouldn't be there just because he said, F you, I'm going right through you. You're
Hmm.
in my way right now. Excuse me. And I don't know, man. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. I
Yeah.
don't think he's super fast, but I think the combination of the speed and power is there.
Hmm.
Um, the contact balance, pretty good. He broke 15 tackles, or well, he forced 15 tackles. They don't really do too many breaking tackles on the wide receivers, but he was breaking tackles and then breaking away with the ball in his hand. So he was fast enough to run away from guys and he's powerful enough to run through guys. And that combination just led to some pretty outrageous tape, if you ask me. Um, but like you were saying about Isaiah, um, he's got a little bit of a big fish in a small pond kind of situation going on with Western Kentucky. That's my personal opinion, but he definitely looked like a man out there on the
Amongst
field.
boys. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was working, thriving in the slot. Most all of his stuff was like 85% of his snaps were in the slot. But he did do well downfield and working outside. I thought he had really good hands and body control, adjusted to catch as well, and really focused on pulling down some difficult catches on the film I saw. It's hard to say that for sure because he only caught 23% of his contested catch targets,
Mm.
uh, 4 of 17. He also had 6 drops and 2 fumbles. So
Mm.
it's not all amazing for this guy. Um, but I think like he has this raw athleticism and he's just like a player on the field. Like the guy has like big shades of almost like Debo-ness
Mm.
to him.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of carries, like a lot of motion, carries out of the
Mm.
backfield, just like they wanted him to be the guy. They put the ball in his hands and said, "Man, please go out there and take care of these fellas." So I think you see it, like you see the aggression of a cornerback, and you see the physicality in his running style of a running back. Except like he also has really good skills at catching the ball. So
Hmm.
I think he can translate all that into I don't know, some next level awesomeness. I'm really, really excited about this guy. Um, Last year, right under 1,000 yards. The previous year was just close to 1,300
Mm.
with 11 touchdowns. So he's got some production. I think he's going to get slept on. There's a lot of heavy hitters in this wide receiver
Yeah, it's
class,
super deep.
but I think this is one of those guys that's just going to like sneak to the back of the second or whatever,
Hmm.
and may end up being a guy that in the long run outperforms some of the well there's I will say for sure that he's going to outperform some of those big name guys just because he's coming from a small school and it's kind of not really as it's not sexy like some of those LSU guys or whatever,
Yeah,
but
for
it's
sure.
fucking it's real when you watch it. This shit
Mm.
looks real.
Oh,
So
he's a player. Yeah. I mean, like you're saying, he's just completely powerful and will run you over. I mean, The Louisiana Tech play where he caught like a 6 yard curl and then literally just turned around and ran over the corner, just hit him and stepped over him and then took it 65 yards for a touchdown. It was bananas. Like he's just out there bullying people. And like you're saying, there's obviously that worry. It's a small school. How much of this is like that guy's going to be working at Home Depot in a week? So like, is it
Ah,
really like? Well, hopefully, he got a good degree. But um, but
I can check. The
but
nice thing about being a senior.
damn. But like you're saying, I my comparison also was Debo. It's what I kept thinking about when I was watching him. Like he runs like a running back when he gets the ball in his hand. Like you're saying, he's really, really good with the ball in his hands. But yeah, if he gets in the right style of offense that wants to use him as like more of a Swiss Army knife type tool, I think it could work really well. I mean, he probably will get relegated to the slot role. Just, I mean, being 5'10", it's going to be tough for him to be on the outside. But I mean, he's a powerful slot receiver. Like he could add a different dynamic to
It's a
yeah, like he could
it's like a
add
whole thing. Like
yeah.
I feel like he's the kind of guy. I hate to say it. Yeah, you're right. I mean, like he could be, like a Curtis Samuel,
Hmm.
Debo type, just like you
Yeah.
just have to find the right offense that has room to be less than traditional
Hmm.
or has the confidence to trust a
Creativity.
player. Yes, the
Yeah.
creativity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
I
100%.
think, yeah, a lot
And
of
I
these young play callers coming out, man, they might look
yeah.
at a guy like this and be like, hell yeah,
Yeah.
they're not going to be ready for this.
I mean, he's getting a lot of buzz already. I mean, if
True.
anybody that knows me knows, I'm a pretty loyal to Daniel Jeremiah and his takes on players and stuff. And he made Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 players on the big board, which was not a name I had seen from anybody else until then. So, A, go check out his shit. He's really good. B, yeah, Corley's a player, man. Like it's going to be a lot of fun, and like exactly what you're saying. There's so many young, offensive-minded head coaches coming into the league this year. Even somewhere like I don't know, like Atlanta. I know there's a lot of names and a lot of people there, but like that could help them our offense. I don't know, like that kind of opposite of Drake London. I mean, then you probably lose Kyle Pitts for good, but you never know. But there's a lot that you could do with a player like this, but it worries me like where it could go wrong, where somebody could see what they want this player to be, but not know how to use him. And then it kind of falls off the rails a little bit, but it's all there. I'm excited to see his combine and everything. It'll be really, really impressive. I think.
Pumped.
So last but not least might be my early NFL draft crush as far as who we've looked at so far. I've got MarShawn Lloyd, running back out of USC 217. He has not gotten a lot of work in college, and that's like the biggest drawback of him. 360 total carries in 3 seasons at college. He only had 4 games this season where he had more than 10 carries or 10 or more carries. But in those games, he averaged 110 yards and a touchdown. So when he gets the playing time, he looks awesome. I mean, he was the guy I was talking about earlier that had almost as many more forced missed tackles at 47 to Cody Schrader's 51. But Marshawn Lloyd had 115 carries compared to Cody Schrader's 277. So you're talking over double, and he's right there in the forced missed tackles. He had 3.97 yards after contact per attempt, which was the highest of the 4 guys we're talking about right now. He's so hard to take down, and he just has that really nice combination of size, speed, vision, and burst. It's all there. It may not be all top tier. It may not all be like, oh my God, he's going to blow you out of the water, but it's all there and he can combine it enough to just be so productive. I mean, he's on offense with Caleb Williams. so he didn't get a lot of attention or the ball very often, but he was really, really efficient when he was given the ball. 7.1 yards per carry this season, and he only had 18 targets and 13 catches, but he went for 232 yards on those 13 catches. That's 17.8 per catch for a running back. This dude was going off. He had
17.8.
he had a friggin' a route out the backfield against Nevada that went, I don't think it went for a touchdown ultimately, but it was a huge, huge gain where he was just screaming up the sideline and Caleb Williams hit him right in stride and he just kept going. To me, he's the most natural runner I've watched of the people in this class. There's like no wasted movement in what he does. It's all very decisive. He does have this thing where he likes to get outside, and he's been able to do that in college. Worrisome about that in the NFL. It might be hard for him to kind of reach the outside. I don't know that he has quite that speed. Maybe it'll surprise me because he was doing it consistently with USC. Would just like take a stretch run and just go all the way around the outside with it. But I worry about that coming up. But I think with the vision and the power and the speed combination that he has, as long as he's taught, okay, maybe you can't get away with that, and he just leans more into like what the blockers are doing, I think he could be awesome, man. It's early. We got to see where these guys go. I was super in on Dwayne McBride last year, and that didn't go well. But this guy to me, so far of everyone we've watched and everyone we've covered, he has like the lowest floor to me. He may not have the high, or sorry, not the lowest floor, the highest floor. Excuse me, the
Hmm.
highest floor to me. And may not have the highest ceiling necessarily, but I think, man, he looks like a starter to me. He looks like an NFL caliber running back. And he may get a little slept on due to the not having that much production in college. Only 816 yards this season. Like I said, that was only on 115 attempts though, so 7.1 per clip. That's really efficient, just not a lot of work. But he didn't get a lot of work at all, so he's going to be fairly fresh coming out. If he ends up early, like if he ends up a third or a fourth, man, I'll be all over him in the second round. I really like his play style, and I think it just looks like it's going to lend to the NFL super well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching him as well. This is probably my favorite guy, except for Isaiah. Like that guy, I mean, that guy was just running over bowling pins.
Yeah.
So, but no, the reason I like Marshawn Lloyd is because he's like a plotter, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like he's like a little like typewriter feet, kind of cutting, jumping.
Yep.
But then once he goes, and it's like boom, like the bullet out the barrel, man.
Hmm.
And yeah, he's got all the traits you're looking for as far as like speed downfield, power, knows how to keep his pads where they need to be to throw a defender off of a tackle, just
Hmm.
like the total package type shit you're looking for. A lot more than some of these other guys we talked about. Like they have intriguing traits, but like you're saying, this guy is like, he's the real deal. He's got
Yeah.
everything it takes. He just needs to scale it up.
Hmm.
So
I
I'm
think
with you,
so.
man.
Yeah, it might be a little like make some time or take some time coming in just to get that level of production up and kind of fit the NFL. But yeah, this is one of the guys that I'm pegging for definite starter success at some point in the NFL.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize that. It's 17.4 per catch. Is that right?
17.8 per
Oof,
catch.
I
Yeah,
did not.
almost 18 yards a catch.
I missed that one. That's
Yeah, no
incredible.
touchdowns, unfortunately. But
Sure,
hey,
can't
but
win
he
them
showed
all.
he can do it. Like he getting 232 yards on 13 catches through the air doesn't just happen.
Oof.
So yeah, I like him. I think he's gonna be good, man. Well,
Well, sweet, dude.
there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So there is our Senior Bowl review player profiles. So join us next week. This is going to be pretty much the program from here until the draft. I mean, little variations on how we're going to be presenting these profiles and who we're going to be talking about. But if you are ready for the 2024 rookie draft and you want to hear about these guys, come join us because we are going to be on this train for the next 2 months, 3 months. So Come join us. We'll figure these guys out together. But until then, we've been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
I took a lease out on your